Hey everybody! Hello, hello, hello! I'm going live on New Year's Eve. I've had a really productive morning doing a lot of trainings and working with people, and I'm just kind of in the zone. And there's so much to reflect on. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody who has been supportive and loving towards myself and my family during this time of grieving and sorrow. I just want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart. Having that support, having that love means a lot to me, and I honor you guys for honoring me and my journey, my family's journey, my extended family's journey. So first, just wanted to start off with that. You know, the thing about death and the thing about mourning and loss is it's not a linear process. There's a lot of bumps, and every day gets better. But really, for me, my goal is always to support my aunt and uncle who are, you know, family, but also like a mother and father figure to me. So my job is to send my support inward, right, and be able to support them. They lost a child, and grief is rough, and I think it's something it's a very universal experience. Typically throughout our lifetime, we lose somebody that we love and cherish, and that's really rough. So be on the lookout. I taped a podcast this weekend on grief, which really was more like a counseling session for Kimberly. And you can hear me go through the 5 stages of grief really in 40 minutes or less, which I think is indicative of life. So as I look back on 2018, it was a huge turning point year for myself and my family. A lot of amazing things happened, and I'm so blessed in certain aspects of my life, and I want to give honor and praise to that. And then I had some huge difficulties and some huge bumps, and I think that, you know, life really becomes the decisions we make despite of our circumstances and surroundings. And that's what I've really come to learn as my big aha in 2018 was, what was I going to make out of my life and circumstances? I can continue to just kind of get kicked in the face and be a victim. And one could say, that would make sense considering the life I'm leading and considering what has happened in the last 9 years of my life. But I decided early on this year that I was done with certain things in my life, and made a very clear decision, and that decision set off a chain reaction. And so really another big aha for me this year was really understanding the power of decision making and choices. And we talk about that a lot, just happenstancely. Oh, she made a bad choice. Oh, you have bad habits. Oh, blah, blah, blah. But really understanding the power of what just making the decision sets in your head and the chain reactions that come after that. And for me, I was doing a lot of journaling and retrospective thinking yesterday. And one of the themes really was this huge sense of loss that I had this year, emotional loss, almost physical loss. I mean, this was a year where I lost somebody very dear to me. I lost a beloved family pet within a month of each other, so 2 losses. But also, I almost lost my daughter this year. And that is something I haven't been too vocal about, was going through that, not once but twice, having 2 suicide attempts in 1 year, fairly back to back. And I think maybe that's part of my own projection of, and the only small glimpse and understanding I can get into my aunt and uncle's pain right now is that I understood the fear of standing next to the hospital bed when we were in the emergency room and watching the monitor start to go off because my daughter's respiratory rate was slowing down. And there's nothing more powerless in the world. And all the blaming and all the bargaining and all the decisions you make in those moments. And being a parent of a child with mental health struggles, just because I do a podcast doesn't mean that those go away. But what I have learned are the skills to help mitigate them so the escalations are less severe, things aren't as bad, or it's not as frequent. And I had to come to a greater understanding inside of myself and my parenting and my reactions to what was going on. And I really had to understand my own, let's say, internal operating system and my children's own internal operating system. And I spent the majority of this year really working hard on understanding my daughter, what makes her tick, and really getting down and digging to the root of what was going on. and my reactions and my own triggers and my own stuff, right? And that is when we make decisions about who we want to be in the rough moments in our life. And we typically don't think that we are empowered to do that. When my cousin passed, I definitely was incredibly upset the night of, but the next day I woke up and I said, who do I want to be in response to this situation, and how do I want to honor him and his memory and his legacy? And I think, I say this in my podcast, that in the episode, that death is the ultimate teacher, and I truly believe that, because it's the only permanence in our life. But we spend a lot of our life thinking that things are permanent that truly aren't, right? We get stuck in these really negative thought patterns. We get stuck in these really limiting beliefs. We take on stories. We believe these stories about ourselves that were handed to us by people dealing with their own shit and fear and BS. And we adapt them to be our own. And then they become ours. And then we operate in that. And 2018 really showed me that I can be the own navigator of my ship, and I can stop any limiting beliefs. If I don't think I'm worthy of this, that can change immediately. If I don't think that I'm deserving of that, that can change immediately. I have to disrupt my negative thought patterns. I have to put in new positive affirmations and a lot of self-love, understanding the difference between self-care, like, oh, I'm going to get a petty and hang out with my girls, and what self-love is and self-nourishment is, and taking the time to make those distinctions and making those times to connect, and really becoming aware and mindful of my behavior. And I can always choose to be a dick. Good Lord knows, there are days where you probably do not want to be around me, and but that's the humanity of it all, is that we are trying to be Pinterest perfect. We're trying to be Facebook, amazing. We're trying to keep up with the Joneses. We want to be this. And for me, it was really stepping into my dysfunction and my UnNormal. And out of that inspiration came the podcast. And 2018 being a year of loss and a year of transition was also a year of growth and a year of connection and a year of possibility. And the podcast opened doors that I never thought could have opened. It has given my life such a sense of purpose and passion that I didn't have before. And it's been such a privilege to work with other parents to help them get to a place where they feel that they can manage their reactions and emotions when they're faced with mental health challenges in somebody that they love. And as this becomes more commonplace because of so many external factors, so many internal factors that are happening, mental health isn't going away. Mental health symptoms are on the rise. We're more stressed out, we're more depressed, and we're more anxious than we've ever been. We're more suicidal than we've ever been. We're more disconnected than we've ever been, but yet we're all so close to each other on the phone, right? So what the hell's happening? We have to have these tough conversations and open dialogue and lean into our vulnerability and not be afraid to display our pain, right? And if we can display our pain, that means we have to rely on people not to judge us for our imperfections. And that was one thing that I really started to learn, is that I have so much more in common with people than I ever would have thought. And there's so much more in common in my circles. Just because we look a certain way or we present a certain way doesn't necessarily mean that's all of who we are. And so it's become my mission to connect people. It's become my mission to expose limiting beliefs and get people to understand why stigma still plays such a active role in mental illness. And stigma is, at the end of the day, that's a fancy word to say judgment and miseducation and ignorance. And so it's just been an incredible ride. And now, as I'm gearing up to 2019, I'm going to be sitting down and planning my goals and what I want to do. The podcast is expanding. We're having live events. We're going to be doing seminars, webinars, workshops. We're going to be working with amazing professionals in our area to help people, help children that are suffering, help parents that don't know how to navigate things, help professionals that don't know how to have these conversations. All of these things are now happening as a result of me waking up one morning and going, I need to do a podcast. And it really was that divine intuition. That's really how everybody said, why did you start the podcast? I literally woke up and said, I need to do this. And it was just very divinely inspired. And that was a God moment. And now I know and understand the depth of why I've done this. We're in so many different countries all over the world, which is such a blessing. Iran, we're in Sweden, Italy, Spain, the UK, Australia. I mean, just so many different, Canada, yay! So many different places. My voice has now been to continents I have not, right? So it's truly a blessing to know that there is value. People find this valuable and inspiring. I know I am incredibly grateful, number one, to my editor, who is behind the scenes toiling away endlessly, making sure my episodes are ready to be heard. And my daughters, who are incredibly patient while I'm taping, and to my listeners that listen week after week, that you let me into your home and into your life. It's very intimate, and I thank you for that. And I can't wait to see what 2019 has in store. For so long, it's been, New Year. And I now look at this year, even though I just had a tremendous loss, I can still say, what does this teach me? How do I honor him? How do I honor myself? And what do I really want out of my life? Our events can shape us in a positive way, even if they're tragic. And our lives are at our disposal when we make choices on how we want to engage. And I am so grateful that today I have 2 stable children, and I am having the relationship with my children. I'm being the parent I want to be, which is imperfect. It's beautifully imperfect. And we're so close. And I'm so grateful for my girls. My life revolves around them, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And I'm so grateful for the people in my life. I have an amazing group of friends and extended acquaintances and family that I get to love and cherish and have the honor to know and have interactions with, who push me to grow and be a better person. And at the end of the day, when I step back, do I want to go, gosh, I wish I wouldn't have done that, or I wish I should have done that? Or can I say, whoa, I did it and this is how it ended up and I survived, right? And I think I'm just leaning more now towards, how many mistakes can I make that teach me the lessons I need to learn so I can move forward into the life that I want? And that really is going to be a theme for me in 2019. I am definitely ready. I have my first speaking engagement. I'll be in San Diego in February, and I'm really excited about that. I'm going to be doing another live event here in the Portland, Oregon metro area in March, and then I'm going to be doing some workshops and retreats. And so things are just shifting and changing. And when I really think about how that happened, is because I made a decision. We are so scared to take risks. And if there's one thing I want to tell you, don't be scared to take risks. There's nothing more scary than losing out on the life you could have been living because you were afraid of something that may or may not have happened, right? That's a variable. So I'm grateful. I'm excited. I'm thankful. I see everybody here. Hello. Thank you for joining me live on a New Year's Eve. I know that there's champagne in majority of you all's future. I know some of you I'm going to see today. So I'm just truly, truly honored and blessed that you are on this journey with me. And I invite everybody in 2019 to get a little unnormal. All right. Bye, everybody. Have an amazing day. Happy New Year.